Hi, I'm AstroCass, also known as Cassie. I love all things astrology. I am an astrologer. I practice traditional Western astrology with the whole sign houses. So if you are new to my tribe, thank you so much for subscribing. Welcome. If you haven't yet subscribed, I'd really appreciate it if you do to help me grow my channel. Also, if you do enjoy my content around astrology and spiritual things, I would really appreciate a like, thumbs up, comment below. I love your feedback. I love commenting back to you guys and just having a bit of a chat. I am a Gemini, so I do love to talk and I love replying to your comments. So engage, let's build my channel. If you can hear my little boy in the background, I'm really sorry, but I don't get much time without him. So he's gonna be in these videos a little bit, but I'm hoping he won't be too much of a distraction. Now, I usually do show the astrology chart while I'm kind of talking, but I thought, now I'm doing a bit of a different setup. Usually I have my setup on Zoom and you can kind of see the astrology chart, the natal chart, along with me talking. Today we're doing something different because I had a bit of computer malfunction. For some reason, I've just run out of storage on my computer. So I thought I would just film it normally on my camera and I would upload a photo in the thumbnail so you guys can see his chart and what I'm talking about, but I will explain it along the way so that you're not missing any of the details. But let's talk about Donald Trump's big three. So his rising, his moon and his sun. I'd also like to deep dive into the rest of his placements as well, but we'll start off with his big three first because that's kind of like where I enjoy starting off in a natal chart. So if I'm looking over here, it's just because on my laptop that's where his chart is, so that we can do this impromptu reading. I haven't studied any of his placements. I haven't really looked at his chart too much before. Only like a small little kind of glance probably 2 days ago. So a lot of this is kind of just me just purely seeing different things that are on there. I'm sure other people might pick up on a lot of other things if they study it more in depth, but I just thought this would be interesting just from a basic level, just look at his natal chart and see what's happening for him at the moment. So I really hope you guys have some other things that you've noticed that you can comment below, because I really, as I said, really love to hear from you guys as well in these readings. So it's not just my ideas and opinions. But Donald Trump is a Leo rising and a 29-degree Leo rising. That is a really pivotal, powerful degree. 29, it's like the last degree in the zodiac sign, very close to the end, which symbolizes like him coming into this life, I guess, to complete his life purpose, really. Kind of like, it's almost like the 29th degree is like the last incarnation, if you believe in reincarnation. It's like it's the last time that he's going to come to Earth to learn those lessons. So anytime you've got a placement at 29 degrees, this is like the last time your soul kind of wants to learn those lessons. It's kind of completing that cycle. So it's really powerful, very powerful degree. So he is a 29-degree Leo rising, which means the sun is actually his chart ruler. So we'll talk about his sun next. But being a Leo rising, this makes Trump very, very performative. Like, there's just something about him that catches a lot of attention. It catches a lot of praise and recognition. He's a really good performer. He probably does really well in front of the camera. He's probably really good with people. A lot of Leos are very creative people as well, and they just have this kind of charm and charisma about them that's really entertaining, because they are, like, Leo is the performer. It's linked to like the royalty, lion, Leo, the heart. So that's something that you really notice about those people when you're in the room with them, because remember, the rising sign is like your physical body, your physical appearance. It's also like your energy when you're in the room. It's how people see you when they first meet you. It's like that energy that you and vibe that you kind of give off. So he gives off a very confident, very extroverted energy. People are drawn to him and captivated by him. He just seems to have that spark. That's something special about him. It is a fire sign as well. So again, it comes back to that creative energy and that fire and that passion, yeah? And with the ruling planet being the sun, his sun is actually in Gemini, so that also adds a lot of those Gemini traits to his rising sign and his personality being a very key component of who he is as a person. So the sun is your self-identity, your ego, it's your life force, your vitality. It's how you shine, it's what people notice about you. And he says in Gemini, Gemini is the communicator, it's the talker, it's communication, it's your thoughts, it's linked to duality and multitasking and being flexible, and it's linked to curiosity and knowledge. So that is a really interesting place to have your sun. You usually, like if you have your sun in Gemini, you're a very curious person. You generally like learning facts and information. You like multitasking. You're very quick-witted with your humor. So like sassy, snappy, like fast comebacks. You could be very flirty and very entertaining and very social as well. Gemini is known to be a bit of a social butterfly. They're really good in things like trade and anything to do with your hands and creating things and writing and teaching, those sorts of things, because that's all those Gemini kind of traits. It's like the craftsman. It's all about like multitasking and doing like multiple things at once, that duality, that flexibility, that adaptability. But on the more negative side, Gemini is known as being kind of like two-faced, a bit of a liar. It can be known as being a bit of a thief, and sometimes like known as being a little bit untrustworthy. Not all people that have Gemini placements are, you know, going to have those negative traits of Gemini. However, it is always important to focus on both sides of that energy, because I guess majority of the time people outgrow those negative sides, especially if they're very self-aware, but those traits can always still show up, and you know, those negative sides can be there throughout our life and show up every now and then. So with the positive kind of curious, really smart, like chatterbox energy with that Gemini side, there's also the trickster side, the thief, the sly kind of misleading type of energy that comes along with that. If you have ever seen the TV show, I think it's called White Collar, have a look at that. Like that is kind of like Gemini trickster kind of energy. It's hilarious, but yeah, that show's really good. But that just, like Gemini energy always reminds me of that. Excuse me. His moon, so now moving on from Gemini. Oh, it's also important, sorry, I totally blanked over this, but his sun is in Gemini, but it's also in the 10th house. So the 10th house is about our career, our reputation, our legacy, what we're leaving behind. It's the most public part of our chart, and it's what we're known for. So having your sun, how you shine, being in that 10th house is a very good kind of placement for fame and being well known. And leaving behind a bit of a legacy, but it does take on that Gemini energy. So that is really important to keep an eye on. The other thing I forgot to mention is that his sun is conjunct the North Node. The North Node is your destiny, your life purpose, and Uranus. Uranus is sudden changes, shocks, surprises. So he's got that element as well to his sun. So the way he shines with those Gemini characteristics, like his communication, is very shocking, very surprising. It's always changing. So it's important to keep that in mind. And him being kind of famous and well known and shining with those Gemini traits is actually part of his life purpose and his destiny. He was here to be a communicator. He was here to talk, to tell truths, to write, to shine his light on those sorts of things. So please keep that in mind as well. Now, moving on to his moon. His moon is actually in Sagittarius, so that's more fire. So his rising sign's a fire sign, his moon is a fire sign, and then his sun is an air sign, Gemini. But with that moon being in Sagittarius, it's actually doing an opposition. So he was actually born on a full moon with his sun in Gemini and his moon being in Sagittarius. He's a full moon baby, a Sagittarius full moon baby. So that's super interesting. And it's part of like an eclipse series because his sun is there with the North Node and his moon's there with the South Node. So the South Node is what we're releasing, what we're getting rid of. It links to our past lives. So I found that very interesting that he's a full moon baby and kind of part of an eclipse series, like born in those eclipses. So very interesting there. The South Node and North Node kind of eclipses being in Sag and Gemini. And the other thing I found really interesting is that that Sagittarius moon is very adventurous. It's about, it wants freedom, it wants adventure, it wants to seek the truth. It's very noble and loves a quest. It likes to be really wise and be a bit of a mentor and a coach to people. It can also be very fun and funny and humorous, and again, life of the party. So Donald Trump is actually, I feel like if I met him in real life, although I feel like a lot of the stuff I see in the news about him, because obviously I don't know him personally, but a lot of the stuff I see in the news about him, I feel like he comes across as like very like arrogant and very, I don't know, like just some of the comments about women are very sexist, and just some of the things that he says are very derogatory. So like that stuff kind of sets me off a little bit. But like looking at his chart, there's a few things where I'm like, if I was actually in the room with this person, I think I could like him and have a lot of fun, because Leo, Gemini, Sagittarius energy, these are the funnest energies. They are the party, the fun, free and amazingly social zodiac signs. Like having placements in those 3 signs is actually incredible. This person is good at parties, they're very social, good with people, they're fun, they're flirty, they're adventurous, they're freedom seeking, and that's a really cool dynamic energy to have, and it's so interesting. So seeing in that chart, I was super surprised, because I was just like, all the negative things that you hear about this person, it's really surprising that he has that much energy that's so likable as a person, and really smart, because Gemini energy is really good with, so his sun and that Gemini energy is so good with like facts and getting all of those things, because it's so curious, it likes information, it likes talking, you know, it's a little bit of a gossiper. It like gathers all the information, everyone's like stories. But then the Sagittarius energy is the actual storyteller. They're the ones that are wise. They're very like they're right into philosophy, and they ask the bigger questions. And it's, again, it is another academic kind of energy that shows somebody is quite smart, and it's ruled by Jupiter. So like they're very expansive, and they're very lucky and abundant and wise. So there's just, I don't know, there's just something about the placement, seeing his chart, like if that is actually his time of birth, this is actually his chart, which I'm pretty sure it is, like it's confirmed and online as, you know, his time of birth, that's pretty accurate. He actually is a pretty interesting, cool person, like a lot of fun energy there. I can see probably how he reels a lot of people in when he is doing his rallies and his meet and greets and doing his political things. Like, I can see why some people are drawn to him and why they're interested in what he has to say. He's probably very, very smart with his jokes and sense of humor, very witty and very social and very likable. So I just thought I would point all that out, because I was just a bit shocked to kind of see that, and a bit surprised. It was very interesting. And if we have a look at his other placements, so like his personal placements being Mercury, Venus, Mars, and then the outer planets and stuff like that. We'll start off with the Mercury. He actually has a stellium in Cancer that includes a Mercury. The planet Mercury links to our communication style. It links to our thoughts, our communication, how we think about things. His is in Cancer, so he's thinking a lot about family and about lands, like homelands and ancestral roots. Very patriarchal, right? It shows a big tie to home and family, so he is a family man. It is playing out in the 11th house. The 11th house links to your the 11th house links to your friends, the groups you're a part of. It links to your wishes, your dreams. It also links to your audience. So if you've got like an online following, or if like you're kind of famous and you've got like an audience, it links to your audience. So he's got Cancer there, so it's very traditional, it's a water sign, so very emotional, like it's all about the ties to your lands and your homelands, your ancestry lands, and like home and family, right? So I feel like people can really connect with that with him, and that's probably why he has done really good, you know, I guess, in getting people together when it comes to like politics. I can see that he's probably really good at focusing on those key things that are important for a lot of people, like their ties to their lands and their country and their families. He is able to communicate and connect with that part. He is a very emotional and intuitive speaker and communicator. And then he's got Saturn conjunct Venus. That is quite hard, having Saturn conjunct Venus. That's really hard for relationships, and kind of shows sometimes a bit of an age difference in relationships, and relationships getting better with time. But yeah, he's got all that in there. And now Venus is the planet of love and romance, money, partnerships, and that's again in Cancer. So again, it's got all of those flavors of that tradition and home and family being important, being something that he values. Again, it's playing out in the 11th house with like his audience, with his wishes, his dreams, his friendships, the groups that he's a part of. So that's a very, very interesting. A lot of his friends and people that are close to him probably feel like family to him, and he treats them probably really well. And he finds his friends very much like his family, very nurturing for him, very emotionally supportive. So, and also his audience, like, the people that follow him, his audience, he feels very emotionally supported and nurtured and cared for by them. And he feels that strong bond like they are his family, which is really interesting. And then Saturn is also there. Now, Saturn's about limitations, restrictions, boundaries, fears, hard work, responsibility, all of those things. So again, friendships might be a bit challenging for him because Saturn is there, especially relationships within friendship groups and that kind of stuff. Like, there can be some challenges there, but again, it gets better with age and with time when you put in the hard work and do the work that Saturn wants you to do. He also has his Mars in Leo, so some more fire energy there, and it's very, very close to his ascendant. So that Mars is at 26 degrees, and obviously his ascendant is at 29 degrees. So that Mars is pretty much sitting on his ascendant, which gives off a very passionate, very aggressive, fiery, someone that's going to fight and stand up for what they believe in type energy. And because it's in Leo, Leo is very proud and very outgoing and very extroverted. So when you add Mars, the planet of like conflict, challenge, passion, what we're fighting for and fighting with, our desire, our motivation, it's very, very like a spark. It's very, very fiery. When you add that to your ascendant, you can come across as very strong, very Mars-like with your energy. So people probably find him a bit combative, very like confrontational, very strong and powerful and assertive and very fiery. Yeah, so I thought that was really another really cool thing to see, because again, as I said, he comes off as very strong and very passionate. So he again has just such strong energy, and his chart is just so interesting, guys. I just find it fascinating. I guess the other things that kind of stood out to me is that he does have Neptune, Chiron, and Jupiter in Libra. Libra is the sign of like balance and harmony and peace and relationships and, all that kind of fun stuff. It's about cooperation. And that's in his his third house. Yeah, his third house, if you're using like whole signs. It's just very hard because like his ascendant is at 29 degrees. So technically, like using whole signs, that Leo energy, that whole first would be his whole first house, which would make Virgo his second house and then Libra his third house. So with Libra being his third house, this again is about communication, because the third house links to like our thoughts, our communication, it links to learning, it links to primary school, like our early education years, it links to our close neighborhood and our short distance travel. So like the route that you take to work every day, like your immediate neighborhood, your siblings, it links to all those sorts of things, that third house. And that Libra energy, as I said, is about peace and harmony, and it's about your relationships and those sorts of things. So him having Neptune there kind of shows that he can have a lot of like illusions and delusions. He can have a lot of creativity around the way he thinks and communicates with people. He's also got Chiron there, which is like wounds with communication, but it's also a place where when you learn to heal those wounds, you can help heal others. So it's very cool to do, like, you know, deep inner shadow work on that, so that you can actually help heal people that might have issues using their throat, their voice, talking, communicating. So he's probably perfected that and worked on that a lot to be such a confident communicator and being really good in politics, and being really good like in front of people and talking to them. He's also got Jupiter there, which is like luck, expansion, it's abundance. So that shows that he is a very wise communicator. He enjoys that. He has a lot of luck and blessings around this area of his life. So again, that's really kind of cool to see that all play out in his chart. I guess the only planet I haven't really spoken about in his chart is Pluto. That's in Leo and it's in his first house, but it's behind the ascendant. So again, it kind of plays into the 12th house a little bit, but it is technically in the first house if you're using whole signs. So again, that makes his physical body, him as a person, his identity very powerful, very magnetic. Pluto is transformative. It's about power and control. So very powerful person. But also somebody, because it plays out in that 12th house a little bit, somebody that has, you know, a lot of secrets, a lot of information about people. They've got a lot that can transform and change the world because they have the power and control with some information, some secrets, some knowledge. So I guess the only other thing I wanted to mention, the last thing I'll talk about, is his midheaven. So the midheaven is the highest point of your natal chart. Sorry, I'm a little bit sick too, so if I sound a bit nasally, I just thought I'd mention I am a little bit sick. I'm just getting over a cold, so I'm really sorry. I know that it's probably not ideal listening to somebody when they've got a cold, but I really wanted to do these videos for you guys. So a Taurus midheaven is very earthy, very grounded, very down to earth, like boy next door type energy. Very good with money, very good at like saving, being practical with money. They look very luxurious. They look like they have a lot of money. They look like they've got their stuff together. But yeah, because it is an earth sign, it is kind of grounded and down to earth at the same time. You know, they give off a very wholesome kind of image. So I thought that was really interesting to know. And right now, let's jump into the transits and have a little bit of a quick discussion of like the major transits. I'm not going to talk about like every single transit and everything that's happening for him, but just the major ones. So right now Uranus is at that same area in his chart, transit wise. So Uranus is sitting on that MC, that Taurus MC. Now it's not ideal, but I'm holding my camera and I'm back just to finish off my Trump astrology reading. I tried to finish it. Well, I started it yesterday and I had to come back and finish it off today because my little boy was just super unsettled and I just couldn't finish it off because he needed some attention, and obviously I've been at work all day today, and I just needed to find a quiet minute just to quickly finish this video off for you guys because I was really wanting to have it all done. I got to the point where I wanted to move in and start talking about Trump's transits. So I have them on my phone here. So if I'm looking down, it's just because I have his chart here on my phone. So I'm going to try and do this super quickly and finish it off for you guys. So what I was going to mention is that right now Trump has Uranus basically sitting on top of his midheaven. So Trump has Uranus sitting on top of his midheaven. Now Uranus is all about shocks, sudden changes. It's about unexpected surprises, chaos, and obviously, you know, with him going through court and all that kind of stuff, and this is quite public, I would say there are a lot of shocks and surprises and changes, and I wouldn't even be surprised if there is an assassination attempt or something just huge that's really surprising. Like, obviously we know that he's been convicted at this stage after a really long drawn out court process, and we know that he is meant to be like going to prison, but we just don't know if he's going to get home arrest, which is what I think will happen, or you know, if there's going to be an assassination attempt, or how this is all going to play out, or if he's just going to end up, you know, being able to stay out of jail. We don't know what that's all going to look like yet. But that's just one thing transit-wise that I did notice about Trump's chart, is that he does have Uranus sitting there on the midheaven. I guess when we look at the other transits, he also has Pluto going through his 6th house of like work, daily routine, health, fitness. And Pluto is a planet of transformation, power and control. So a lot of power and control around his work, around his routine and stuff like that at the moment. He has Neptune and Saturn both in Pisces in his 7th house. 7th house is your close one-on-one relationships. Saturn's is about boundaries and restrictions, needing to mature. Neptune's obviously about creativity and spirituality, those sorts of things. And then if we have a look at Jupiter, Jupiter is actually going through his Gemini house, which is his 10th house of career and reputation. So Jupiter's expanding that, it's growing it, it's bringing also luck and abundance and blessings there, depending on obviously aspects and stuff like that that's hitting. Obviously Trump has that sun that's very close, like it's on the border of Cancer and Gemini. So I believe he is a Gemini sun though. I'm just double checking. Yes, Gemini sun, 22 degrees. So eventually that Jupiter will hit his sun and expand that. So I feel like by December or the end of the year, there's going to be something even bigger that happens when Jupiter hits his sun. More exposure. He's going to be shining more in the news more. Again, I feel like he might go under house arrest. There could be some kind of assassination attempt, potentially, if he does go to prison. Or even if he doesn't go to prison, I still feel like they're going to try and take him out of the running for being president. I think that maybe if he gets home arrest, that, you know, they might delay the presidential election, which kind of aligns with that sun hitting the Jupiter type energy for him, because obviously that'll be towards the end of the year, start of next year, so that could be coming into the next election if it does get postponed. And then I think I'm just double checking that I haven't missed any of the other major outer planets. Spoken about Saturn, spoke about Pluto, Jupiter, Uranus. I think that's all the major big transits he has, but I just wanted to kind of cover that and like tie that all in, because he has some interesting stuff with the US Sibley chart as well. So I just thought it was super interesting because the US Sibley chart has a Sagittarius rising and he has a Sagittarius moon. So there's a bit of a connection there. He also has a lot of Cancer energy with that Venus, Saturn and Mercury there. And they have a Cancer sun. I believe it was a Cancer sun chart, so that's super interesting as well. So there's like a fair bit of connections between Trump's energy and just like the US's in general, like the US's chart with that Sagittarius and Cancer energy. So I thought I would point that out as well. But I really hope you enjoyed this video, and sorry that the ending's kind of me holding the camera and it's a bit like not really well set up, but my little boy's in the lounge room, he's watching TV, I've just finished work, I'm trying to finish this video off, so that you guys have something to go on, and I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, give us a like, thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!